Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leod. Today's painting is a tribute to someone I feel like I know. It's a portrait of the late actor Val Kilmer. Now, I wouldn't call myself his biggest fan, but I was a fan. He was one of those actors who my entire life just was a famous person. Growing up, I absolutely loved Top Secret. That movie was right up there with Airplane, Hot Shots, and The Naked Gun. Totally my kind of humor. Of course, there's a bunch of his other movies I really enjoyed too, but I'm not here to list off his filmography. That's what IMDb is for. Before making this video, I intended to watch the documentary about his life. That was one of the reasons this video kept getting delayed. It's still on my to-watch list, and even though I haven't seen it, I do recommend it. But it looks like one of those docs that deserves your full attention, you know? Especially since it deals with some really heavy stuff, like his battle with cancer. I didn't want to just have it on in the background while painting. I wanted to actually sit down and absorb it. But I didn't really have the mental space for it. So eventually, I just decided, let's release the painting, talk about the process, and recommend the documentary anyways. Documentary. I don't know why that word is so hard for me to say. When I heard that Val Kilmer passed, I wasn't sure which version of him I wanted to paint. I was tempted to go with Top Secret since it's the favorite of mine, but he has such a clean, almost too clean look in that movie. Very Hollywood. Actually, that was kind of the challenge. In a lot of his films, his look is really consistent, which I imagine was both a blessing and a curse in his career. But for my painting, that narrowed down my options. I almost went with Willow. I love that movie. He's so great as Mad Mardigan. And I am curious, do you say Mad Mardigan or Mad Mortigan? Because I remember it as Mad Mortigan, but it's written as Mad Mardigan, and now I'm not sure. Either way, he did a fantastic job in that movie. But in the end, I landed on Tombstone, which is funny because I've never actually watched Tombstone all the way through. But his look in that role, I think, is iconic. I found a perfect reference image. The lighting's very dramatic, and he's smoking, which you know I love painting, so it was a perfect fit. This one is a 10 by 10 inch oil painting on canvas board, so I needed a tighter composition that would still have a strong presence in a square format. And the Tombstone vibe just checked all the boxes. If you're interested, this painting is available in my shop over on my website. I'll link that below if you want to check it out, or just see more photos of it. This is only the second time I have used this brand of canvas panel, and I have mixed feelings. The quality is good, and the price is definitely right, but the surface itself is just too absorbent for me. That's definitely a personal thing. Some people love it, but for me, it makes the paint behave in ways I don't totally love. For reference for this painting, unsurprisingly, I used a screenshot from the movie, but I actually pulled pieces from multiple frames to create a composition screenshot that I liked. Initially, I wanted the shadows to have more red in them, kind of push the palette into something stylized, but I didn't really plan that out at all, which was a mistake because I found it very tough to stray from the reference. I do like taking creative liberties, but the more the likeness matters to me, the harder it is to break away from the original image. Also, if I'm going to change one major color or value, it usually works better if I commit to changing everything. Otherwise, it can look kind of disjointed. Here are a few other pieces where I did really shift the colors significantly. One thing that stood out with this screenshot is just how blurred out the background was. That's a result of shallow depth of field, or what's often referred to as bokeh. If you're not familiar, bokeh is where the subject is in focus and the background is all soft and blurry. You've probably seen the portrait mode on your phone. That's a digital imitation of the same thing. In real cameras, it's a result of physical optics, and it can look so good. Now, in painting and photography, bokeh can be a bit of a cheat. It makes it a lot easier to create separation between subject and background, and makes it a lot easier to frame your composition. A vague, soft background is just easier to paint Designing a complex scene with a fully in focus background and scenery and multiple subjects or multiple elements, and to still have the subject pop and be separate from the background, and to not have elements clash or tangents, and everything being in perspective, and having all of those elements work together. Doing all of that is a lot harder. And sometimes doing the hard things look the best. That's just the way it is. But not always. And honestly, sometimes I like to push the blur even more than most people would. For example, I don't know if you've seen Army of the Dead, but regardless of what you think of him, Zack Snyder shot it with these wild custom lenses that had an insanely shallow depth of field, like ridiculously shallow. I know not everyone's into that look or that type of movie, and it doesn't work in every situation, but I loved it. Here's some examples from the movie. There's actually a few examples that I think are even better, where the depth of field is even more narrow, but they're a little gory, so I didn't share them. I love the details as much as anyone. I absolutely get lost in them sometimes, but I also love the blur. It's honestly very conflicting feelings inside that is slowly tearing me apart. That dreamy, painterly quality is just so satisfying. I'll let the video play for a little bit so you can watch the painting process without me yapping, and I'll be back towards the end. I really hope you like how this one turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments. What's your favorite Val Kilmer performance? Have you seen Tombstone or the documentary? Should I bump them up my watch list? I've got more videos in the works, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're curious about this piece and want to see it up close, it's available in my shop. I'll drop the link below. Thanks for hanging out, and as always, happy painting!